Of the free, and you'll know us by the trail of dead. It's just one more world war to complete the set. When you live by the pike, you die by the pith. You die wide-eyed, still pleading the fifth, or crying divine epithets and pathetic attempts at defense. All empathetic for those on your side of the fence. Well, I'll gladly put you and your legacy into an alternate tense of faltering senses and altered events. Like hun, it ain't a hearse, it's a reaper's stretch. How sweet, she said. Bunch of hordes in the street like it's Evil Dead. Where the thin blue line meets razor's edge. And where the corporate ladder ascends to a steel-toed boot that awaits on the ledge. You'll be licking it fresh at your boss's request till it stomps each finger and watches you fall to your death. And drown in an ocean of debt. Gone with the fodder who gathered to honor the patient left, who purity tested themselves into sections, step by step, till the next election, when it's just one them and the sound of their well-read theorized breath. That's harm reduction for the lowly cost of you holding your nose and just openly buying the theft. Maybe that's all in the flick of the pen. Maybe we're all one unmarked van from a trip to the pen. Being guarded by pigs who exist on a diet of dying breaths of much worthier men. Honey, heaven's expecting you. Just don't get too hung up on who they let in. Just look up at the shine of the pearly gates. You don't need to worry if there's lead in the paint. You don't need to worry if there's lead in the water, lead in the milk, lead in the honey, lead in the caustic embrace of the Heavenly Father. Lead is the flavor of passive perpetual slaughter. Lead is the taste of us led to the ledge by the lure of the legend of expert consensus, and then beckon to stretch it just one step farther. And I hope all the folks who were boastfully gloating and toasting themselves as the heroes of COVID for boosting their boosters and doing their part are now equally thrilled to be starstruck martyrs. All laid in a government grave with anonymous markers, like you're back from the carvers and off to the splicer. You're the very first wave to be slain in the war against Pfizer, that 100 years war against Pfizer. They are thinning the crowd that is striking right now to bleed adequate pay from those inhuman misers, who all sit in their office and designate coffins to people regarded as nothing but profit for Kaiser. Still the Dems want you nicer. Dems want you softer. Dems want you kinder. Yeah, they all want you graciously starving in silence. You will speak when you're spoken to. Rest of the time, you and all of us peasants are merely depressing statistics neglected in Congress's binders. All bled, bone dry, then fed to the grinder. Our headstones line each step as reminders. That's a lesson in object permanence learned in the furnace by workers consigned to the fire. Workers bled, bone dry, then fed by the fed to the grinder. Fed by the fed to the grinder. Now the Fed went straight to your head. Mind what you hide in your size unsaid, and your eyes turn blind to the signs unread. Flag bright red, so you let it in bed. You let it inside, and you'll see that it's fed. Never you mind that it grinds your wealth into bread for itself, then it bleeds you dry, then it dines on the dead. Now the Fed went straight to your head. Mind what you hide in your size unsaid, and your eyes turn blind to the signs unread. Flag bright red, so you let it in bed. You let it inside, and you'll see that it's fed. Never you mind that it grinds your wealth into bread for itself, then it bleeds you dry, then it dines on the dead. And the Fed went straight to your head. Mind what you hide in your size unsaid, and your eyes turn blind to the signs unread. Flag bright red, so you let it in bed. You let it inside, you'll see that it's fed. Never you mind that it grinds your wealth into bread for itself, bleeds you dry, then dines on the dead. The Fed went straight to your head. Mind what you hide in your size unsaid, and your eyes turn blind to the signs unread. Flag bright red, so you let it in bed. You let it inside, and you'll see that it's fed. Never you mind that it grinds your wealth into bread for itself, then it bleeds you dry, then it dines on the dead. Here's where our leaders would see us all led. Here's where our leaders would see us all led. Here's where our leaders would see us all led. Here's where our leaders would see us all led. The pen went straight to your head. Mind what you hide and your sights unsaid, and your eyes turned blind to the signs on a red. Flag bright red, so you let it in bed. You let it inside, you'll see that it's fed. Never you'll mind that it grinds your wealth in the bread for itself, that it bleeds you dry, that it dies on the dead. That went straight to your head. Mind what you hide and your sighs unsaid, and your eyes turned blind to the signs on a red. Flag bright red, so you let it in bed. You let it inside, you'll see that it's fed. Never you'll mind that it grinds your mind, that it grinds yourself, that it bleeds you dry, that it dies on the dead. Here's where our leaders would see us all led. I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry. My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I get to the end of a 4-minute track and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say? So I try to sit down with my wife and watch TV, but I just see propaganda elevating the police in the simplest of sitcom banter, and tiny little altars full of offerings to corporate masters in every well-planned wide pan shot of the name brand stocking up the pantry. Pull back one long tracking shot out to the garage to the logo on the Camry. Nice tight shot of the Camry, close-up view of the Camry, slow pan up on the Camry, long slow zoom to the unmoving human who's up in the front with the tube pumping fumes to him straight from the back of the Camry. Ashamed he just could not provide for himself, let alone for his family. It's a blue pill mindset that spent 2020 making dance beats. I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride, and thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry. Ignorance is bliss, which explains why a lot of us are so fucking happy. Quick to take the trip for all its trappings. Never one to ask what's up, what's going on, or God forbid what's happening. A lot of us would strap into the ride and then spit right in the eye of the guy whose job it is to snap your fastenings. But maybe we're all born with that capacity. Maybe each of us comes standard with humor, compassion, malice, and audacity. Some of us are blind to the system, but some see it fine and say this is how it has to be. Some of us can stare wide-eyed at a nationwide human catastrophe and only offer platitudes and recipes. And I wish that I could tell myself that nothing's worth obsessing past my everyday necessities. I wish that I could cry fake news over anything that threatened me, tune out our abuses and consume a little levity. Wish that I could offer up my son a smoother destiny. Wish I had some better lessons for how best to answer questions for the things I've been perpetually questioning. But I'm too busy looking at our leaders, wondering what I might be missing from their messaging. Trying to find the reasoning to let 250,000 people meet an early reckoning. And even though I know the truth, it's hard to swallow something that's so literally sickening. Hope is ever dwindling, COVID ever beckoning. Winter slows your breathing, but your pulse is ever quickening. Even though I know the truth, it's hard to keep listening. I'm done with my epiphany, my innocence is blistering. I'd like to think I'd taste the earth before I'd ever kiss the ring. Hard to speak the truth and harder still to keep listening. Sometimes I think I miss being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. Thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. Both bleed us so dry. Both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry. They won't let you go, set you free, or send you home. Wait, please say you know what you need is what you owed, and they won't let you go, set you free, send you home. I was close enough to smell the fire. Jesus took the wheel and then he kicked me off the ride. I was busy shouting at myself from in the crowd, about to throw down and drag myself outside. I had to give myself the business. When I show myself forgiveness, it goes right between the eyes. Was looking past my shoulder, never focused on the prize. I stalked myself through burning sand the better part of 40 nights. I found myself staring in the mirror, yelling, go into the light. Cause I was in the rear view, staring at the highway, horrified. I was in the road ahead, arms wide, ready to be mummified. Gonna be the fella yelling how he's sick of always betting on his life. I'll also be the guy that brought the dice. Half a dozen chambers and I keep an empty 5. Only needed one to break the ice. Only needed one to clear my mind. Only needed one to stop time. Wait, please say you know what you need is what you owed, and they won't let you go, set you free, send you
I that brought the dice.
Radio station just censored the word devil. Clearly, we are on a different level. I guess you wouldn't notice all the rolling boulders crashing past your shoulders when you're taught to shift your focus lower, scream at all the pebbles. Cheering on the bombers because you can't abide the rebels. But I bet you'll wring your bloody hands when all the dust has settled, when the last little limb is pulled from Gaza's twisted metal. Then you can say how you were led astray, and never once in all your days would you have knowingly supported all the genocide for which you clapped and prayed. But they baited you with unconfirmed blurbs about babies until you were filled with rage. Yet someone told you babies had been starving, bombed, and caged for nearly 80 years in Gaza, and you looked the other way. So regret, but make it fashion. Go and pluck that final petal off a hyacinth on Instagram for every kid they kettled. Every son that Israel imprisoned when they're little, that they tortured for a decade, then surprised with their acquittal. And when they got released and saw their parents, and whatever siblings hadn't met the missiles, they stared right through their middle. Their eyes don't seem to focus, and their words are all but dribble, like they're pondering the darkest riddle. That is, how many false flags does it take to make humanity inhuman and uncivil, distorted by the revel? The crooked slant where Israel contorts into America, Biden bathing Bibi in a bloodbath in the bevel.
Who are these people?
Who are these people? Let's see if we did it right. Hi, everybody. It's Indy. I got Reef next to me. Do we hear Reef? Does everything work? I don't know.
I think.
I hear Reef. Do you hear Reef? All the buttons say that it should be working. So I'm assuming that it's working, and I'm sure somebody's going to tell me so. And let me stop the sound. Good. All right. It's Sunday night. It's How Do We Miss That? It's INN. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate everyone for showing up. We have a lot of good stories to cover, mostly non-electoralism, which is what we are focused on, and also on where the money's going, because that's also what we're focused on. We had a really solid week here. I think we did 13 streams, 14 streams this week. We had, AM Wake Up started this first full week with the Independent Review, 10 a.m. Eastern, 5 days a week now, going to our Twitter only or our Elon's Everything app called that he likes to call X and we don't. This week I'm going to be going on a couple of different shows. I'm going to be recording one that'll be out next week, and I'll be going on another one Tuesday night, late night, like 11:30, and we'll talk about that later. You guys had a good show on INN News this week, right? You and Care Bear, all right?
I think.
Himbo, his video card died on Monday, so there was no Maple Files, but he was back on Thursday night for Snow Himbo streams, and he'll be back tomorrow night for another Maple Files, and maybe Yeti will even join him. Yeti got a new stove. Yeti's got a shed going up. Yeti's making moves.
Coming straight from the yurt.
Coming straight from the yurt. Up at the NS, the Nova Scotia.
The Nova Scotia.
The Nova Scotia.
You don't know about the underground.
Golden Monarch wants to talk about the Hawk Tua coin. The crypto crap.
Just don't.
No,
just don't.
Like, you look, a bunch of idiots lost a bunch of money, and she's probably going to go to jail. I'm going to jail. Like, that's what's going to end up. Somebody will go to jail, and she just capitalized on her 15 minutes of fame, man. Like, everybody's got a crypto coin, right? Where's the INN coin? That's what's coming soon.
Couldn't have possibly been an entire plant from the get-go. But whatever. I mean,
what? Nah, never. What? Anyway,
cool on that thing.
Anyway, yeah. We're gonna follow the money. We're gonna talk about corporate media trying to infiltrate this space, as well as push out some of the people in this space. What? Yeah, we're going to figure out and talk about a little bit of that. And then, like last week, I'm just going to bring some articles and show you the headlines and let you guys on your own time go and read those things. We're going to read on those things.
Man, you read those things.
Read on those things. Puh, like I give it a read to it. All right. So yeah, we really appreciate everyone for being here and for supporting INN and independent media. The links to do so are right here. So if you are unable to totally get it, enjoy the stream, share the content, please, if you can, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, let people know about INN and let people know about this show. It really helps. And they can download it in podcasts and they can watch it on basically every platform, either live or on replay. We leave all the VODs up and we do clips via newsletter. There's a ton of ways to get the content. But these are the amazing people that have already supported INN. We love you. Thank you. Really appreciate you. Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal, Patreon. And a monthly, you can do a Patreon or at the INNnewsletter.com, which you can see down there. Somewhere down at the bottom, you'll see in a second. All right. Let's do this. All right. I got a bunch of stories that I want to go through. The first one of them is talking about The Guardian. All right. Now, we know The Guardian's not our friend, right? What? Hello? You're frozen. What? Oh, you just went into space. Where'd you go? I don't know. All of a sudden you went far away. Okay. Jonathan Cook is saying The Guardian is not our friend, which we already knew. But apparently their staff went on strike. And we didn't really talk about that. But the reasons behind it were not because of Palestine. The reasons were not because of what they're not letting them cover. All right. It's either Guardian journalists don't care about police accruing powers to jail journalists for doing journalism, or they have no real control over the material that the paper publishes. And I think it's probably closer to the latter. And I think they would admit that, right? So what Jonathan Cook, by the way, Indie Media Award honoree, inaugural class 2022. Right? Reef will get that going in a second. Maybe. Or I will. Woo! Double. All right. Guardian Journal.
Trying to fix me being in space. Apparently I was in space.
You were. Guardian journalists.
So I was fixing that.
Guardian journalists have probably the strongest chapel of the main journalist union in Britain. Strong enough that they were able to organize a strike this past week over the sale of Guardian's sister Sunday paper, The Observer, to Tortoise Media. So what does this mean? And yet the Guardian chapel of the National Union of Journalists has not gone on strike over the recent raid by counterterrorism police on a fellow journalist, Asa Winstanley, with threats to lock him up for 14 years for writing against the genocide in Gaza. We've covered that pretty extensively a couple times. Maybe in our current era, that's too much to expect. But the same chapel has not even issued a statement condemning the hounding of Winstanley and other journalists under counterterrorism laws in what amounts to a massive assault by the British state on press freedom. This is something that we've been covering extensively for a while now. You know, the fact that authoritarianism is really kicking in Britain, in London, Keir Starmer being prime minister, they thought might help things. It has only ramped things up. I think that was the plan for what was going to happen under a Harris administration. And in ways, I'm glad we avoided that. I'm not really glad for what's going to come, but I'm certainly glad that those people were not able to get the levers of power in their hands. And that's what I said for months. Like, I wanted everyone to lose, but somebody had to win. And either way, we were going to be screwed. But,
on the bus, go round and round.
yeah. She couldn't win, man. We couldn't reward that. So I'm glad that
And as
she...
a woman, there's a balance to be struck between being tough and being a bitch.
Cringe.
What?
So because there's been complete silence about Asa Winstanley and other journalists, there can only be two conclusions that are possible. Either the journalists at The Guardian don't actually care about the police accruing powers to jail journalists for doing journalism, or they have no real editorial control over the material they publish, and it's the paper's management that imposes the editorial agenda from the top, which I think we've known for a long time, at least since 2020, if not before then. But the entire smearing of Assange, and he's about to talk about that here, I don't think this is really much of a surprise to anyone, but I thought this was a really good piece to remind everyone. When he worked at Guardian and Observer newspapers throughout most of the 90s, he had reached the conclusion that it was the latter, so he has a first-hand perspective. Most journalists were so grateful to be vaguely part of a left newspaper, right, given that the other choices were working for Murdoch or the Daily Telegraph, that they dared not upset the apple cart. They've once again demonstrated that they can find a collective backbone only when their jobs, rather than the principles of a free press, are under threat. It's not as though we haven't been here before. Like he says, we saw the same Guardian management playbook when Julian Assange was hounded by the British state for a decade and then locked up in a high-security prison for years while the U.S. government sought his extradition for doing journalism that exposed the high crimes of the British and U.S. states. You know, a lot of people like to share Guardian articles, and it's conflicting, I know, because sometimes it's really good stuff. And I put them in the category of, you know, when people turn around about certain journalists and say, yeah, well, they do good work. You know, they're this, but they do good work. If there's a but, I tend to want to dismiss them more often than not. And I think that there's one name specifically in my mind that popped in because we actually talked about him today in one of the Discord servers that I'm in. All right, but and he's exactly the kind of person that he does great journalism, but he's a complete asshole who begs for money all the time. And I think everyone knows who that is. We're not going to say his name. But after they smeared Julian Assange, The Guardian gave this concerted, years-long attack on press freedom the most minimal, grudging coverage possible. No one broke rank. It was weird. The Guardian is not our friend. Right? Just like Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske are not our friend. That's not even who I was talking about. Right? Whatever individual journalists there may feel, the paper as an institution doesn't care about journalism or press freedom, nor do a lot of these other people. And if it really doesn't care about press freedom, it doesn't really care about any other freedoms, because all those other freedoms are contingent on a free critical press.
Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends?
Well, because of money, that's why. There is, however, the one freedom the corporation owns The Guardian cares about, the freedom to make money, to market the paper as on the left, to win over customers who identify with the brand of a left liberal newspaper, a la TYT in print. That doesn't mean that the paper always needs to be commercially profitable, though that is doubtless a nice bonus. But The Guardian does need to profit the much bigger corporation, Guardian Media Group, that it's embedded in. It does that by occupying a space in the marketplace, appealing to a liberal left demographic, so no real left-wing publication run by journalists rather than a media corporation can take its place and properly inform its readers about the state of the world. Why would they want that? They wouldn't get $17 million from Bill Gates. Oh, yeah, they did that too. And that's not even mentioned in this article. The Guardian occupies a key part of the media space, our modern town square, so that no one better qualified to occupy it can get a look in. They're gatekeepers.
Yeah.
If there's,
They keep the gate.
it is there to kill real dissident journalism, to kill truly independent journalism from the likes of Asa Winstanley. It's there to make sure the mainstream left journalism mirrors closely the mainstream political left. Keir Starmer's Labour Party, with all its authoritarian, City of London pandering, NATO worshipping instincts. I like that analogy. The Guardian, again, is not our friend. It's time we stopped sleeping with the enemy, meaning sharing their content and paying attention to what they say. This is an argument, this is a battle that the two of us have been fighting back to back against, it feels like the fucking world, guys. And I love everybody in this chat. A lot of y'all, and it's not anyone specific here, are focused on the people that we need to not be focused on, and your amplifying of them is the reason why they continue to shine and grow and have a voice. And what we need to do is leave these people in the dust and not talk about them at all. It's hard. It's hard not to comment. It's hard not to.
It's
hard.
It's not.
It is.
Not hard.
It is because you want to get that zinger. You want to get that zinger in.
You can shout over me if you want to, but it's not that hard. Just don't.
You want to get the zinger in.
Literally, don't.
All right.
Not that hard.
Well, the Guardian is getting funding from Bill Gates, but we're not. So because of that, we rely on you. We are completely user funded, as well as, ourselves, that we can, whatever we can afford to put into this as well. But anything you can do to help would really be, great. Really appreciate that. We got some more support this week from a bunch of people, and that's awesome. We are so close to being able to pay off our Zago friends, and then we can pay off the Restream bill, which is the big one for the year. That's coming at the end of the month. And then we get into 2025 bills so that we can then do some really cool, fun stuff for the network and start helping some other people do some mutual aid stuff. That's the whole idea behind what we're doing here. Do I?
Point, by the way.
What? No, you don't need to see that. What?
I mean, I don't. I can wing it, but
you're managing just fine. Here, let me get this to you. I'm sure you'll hear that. All right. Say hello to everybody in chat. I'm not going to say who that is, but Dr. Nick, you are correct, sir. I'm not putting that up there. No, we don't have to talk about that girl, and that's all we're going to say about her, except that she's probably going to go to jail. Yeah, exactly. See, this is it. Let's punch up.
Huh?
That girl is not up. This is punching up. Michael Saylor, Mark Cuban, people with the real money, with the real influence that do shit, that buy shit, that make sure we can't do shit. That's who we need to be worrying about and focused on. What are they doing? And most importantly, supporting Zionism, which they all are. It's an issue. Oh goodness gracious, Anthony, gross. Let's see. I'm ready for the next one. We got that. Oh, we got that done. We got that done. Let's hit it. All right. Next. Holy shit. This was the one that I teased, and I did a little clickbaity stuff. Yes, I'm guilty. I used the name Elon Musk derangement syndrome. And is it? I don't think it is. This is out of Sludge. You can't really see it, but it says Sludge up there, sludge.com, or readsludge.com. Truly independent. They chase the money. So where did Elon Musk spend his money? They say he spent over $250 million to elect Trump, but it was a lot more than just elect Trump that he got out of this. And that's the reason why I brought this and I wanted to do this. This is David Moore. I'm sorry, Donald Shore and David Moore together. They run Sludge, the two of them. It's just a two-person operation. All right. So that's that famous photo down in Pennsylvania in Butler, the site of the ketchup incident. All right. But the first thing is that he gave nearly $120 million to his pro-Trump America PAC just in the final weeks of the campaign, according to a new FEC filing. So that the new filing, the final election filings just came out, right? Have you heard about this? Did you hear about this?
How did we miss that?
How did we miss that? All right. Elmo donated at least, all right, $264 million since July. Yeah, that's cool. That's just the super PACs that spent money backing his election, according to FEC filings. And that includes the just filed post-general reports that covers the period from right through the general, right through the 3 weeks after, where they're not really spending as much other than to try to influence the places where the things are still to be decided. They want to change narrative, change perception. But during that post-general period, he put an additional $119.9 million into that super PAC that he created in May. Most of that money was given directly by Musk, while another $40 million was given by, he's a fucking troll too. He created a company, all right, that was the name on the checks of the winners that he staged this fake petition that he sent to people. You're going to win this lottery for $1 million.
Right.
$40.8 million. The company was called United States of America, Inc. How do you get away with that? Like, people think that they're getting it from the government because it's coming from the United States of America, Inc. It's a lottery. It must be real. Yeah, Dr. Evil Noises is right. We should be hearing that right now. So the FEC filing specifies that the United States of America Inc. money is attributable to Musk, which brings his total given to the group to $240 million, just shy of. Right? Wow. But he starts spreading it around elsewhere, and here's where it went. And this is what I also thought was interesting. When you spend that kind of money, where does it go? I mean, a lot of it, I'm sure, is going to go for ads and for creative. But the PAC spent heavily on door-to-door canvassing operations for the campaign. Like, how much were you paying people to canvass? It might be another way of, kind of money laundering. I mean, I don't know. That's total speculation, but a ton of money, again, a couple of $100 million, and you're buying canvassers, door-to-door canvassers. How many canvassers can you buy with $1 million, for example? All right. The super PAC was initially seeded with funding from allies like billionaire Silicon Valley investor Doug Leone and Musk's confidant Joe Lonsdale, who's the VC. And oh yeah, he's the co-founder of a little company called Palantir with Peter Thiel. Oh yeah, that too. No big deal. But it was also revealed by an FEC filing posted yesterday evening that Musk provided the entirety of funding behind RBG PAC. All right, you ready for this one?
Okay.
He gave $20.5 million to the group on October 24th.
20 and Heist.
The next day, it begins running ads invoking the name of Ruth Bader Ginsburg to say that Trump would oppose a federal abortion ban, and that Trump and RBG shared a position on the matter because RBG was
He probably got one of those action figures.
Bro. Yeah. Oh, you know what? That's really funny. He probably did a bunch of them for how much? $20 million worth of ads to try to brainwash people. And not brainwash, but to reinforce the point that RBG was anti-abortion and and would oppose a federal abortion ban. All right. So therefore, would not allow it to become the law of the land that, that abortion would be legal, at least by the state. And he's always been a let the states decide kind of guy when it came to that, which means the entire South says no and the entire North says yes for now, until they get the real conservatives in those state governments. Now, Musk was the single largest donor to a super PAC called Maha Alliance, founded in early September. All right. Here's another super PAC. Again, thanks, Citizens United. All right. It's a name, of course, made in reference to the Make America Healthy Again slogan of Booby Kennedy Jr., who endorsed Trump for president in August. So now they all came up with this whole marketing slogan. And how much did he end up putting into the Maha thing? Where's the thing? He was the single largest donor.
A McDonald's Big Mac.
Right, FEC records show its donors in the first half of October included $2 million from American Values, which is the super PAC that backed Kennedy's presidential fake campaign. Then $1 million from Patricia Duggan, who's a wealthy donor in Florida. $3 million from Musk on October 22nd. All right. And then they started spending money at the end of October, right before the election, to try to influence in, I'm sure, certain key swing states where there is a lot of anti-COVID lockdown sentiment. And they were battling, I'm guessing, probably the swing states where they're trying to get the people out about COVID stuff and about vaccine stuff, right? Safe and effective. So safe and effective. Our hearts swell with pride just to think about it. All right. So in the Post General, Maha Alliance spent another $2.5 million on media and almost $500,000 on fundraising, among other expenses, according to its filing. Now, money spent on fundraising, that also could be considered laundering very easily. Spending money to fundraise means what? You had some kind of an event that you spent all kinds of money and had all kinds of power brokers at to try to raise money where you may or may not have. Who knows? But that all gets kind of washed out and off the books. To me, that's laundering. You're laundering that money out by having a fancy event for all your friends. All right.
Well, you're probably getting taxed right off of that anyway. Probably charity or whatever, right?
Well, it's a super PAC, so I don't know how the taxes work for a super PAC. All right, but Musk gave more than $2.3 million to the Sentinel Action Fund on October 8th. That's a group that backed Trump, as well as backing Bernie Moreno in Ohio, Tim Sheehy in Montana, Dave McCormick in Pennsylvania, and others. All the Republicans that were running in close Senate races. And I think the Republicans won 2 out of 3. Go ahead.
Keep in mind that billionaires don't spend this kind of money without expecting some fucking return. Like,
oh, he's going to get multi times
just throwing it around, right? Like,
yeah. All right. Now this Sentinel Action Fund is also great. It was launched 2 years ago by Heritage Action. That's your Project 2025 people. The advocacy arm of the Heritage Foundation, and described itself as one of the largest national networks of grassroots conservatives. If the grassroots started billionaires, sure. There's nothing grassroots about the Heritage Foundation. But Musk also injected more into a dark money group called Building America's Future that this fall funded super PACs backing Trump and opposing Harris. Nothing wrong with that, nothing illegal about it other than the fact that he's trying to buy influence in our elections. But That's legal in this system, which needs to get destroyed.
Yep.
The group has over a dozen individual and corporate donors, one of whom, of course, is Musk, according to the New York Times. Now, I don't know how
New
they
York
got
Times.
that. It's unknown how much he gave to the group because it's a nonprofit, and it's not required to disclose information about its donors, which is one of the reasons why they do that. Is they like to wash money through that way because nobody can see it and how much. In the second half of October, though, the Trump campaign texted supporters that Musk would match donations to a Trump campaign joint fundraising committee up to the maximum direct contribution, and FEC data shows that he donated close to $1 million to the Trump 47 committee on October 21st. So they raised close to $1 million, and he matched that with close to $1 million. Again, remember, this guy is the richest guy in the world. This is all pennies to him. He's worth more than 9 figures. More than, 12 figures. More than $100 billion. And he's like spending $245 million. Less than a quarter of one of the 150 or so that he has, or allegedly. And again, it's going to get him a 10x minimum return on investment from all the companies that he has, in addition to having a seat right next to and the ear of Trump as the sitting president, and the influence of his buddies in the PayPal mafia. Let's talk about that afterwards too. Okay, and how the
time with your Bitcoin, your crypto, and everything else that you're playing with.
Well, again, you've got that Sachs, who just got the crypto gig, or at least is going to be appointed the head of the crypto division, whatever they're going to call that. And then they're going to do the Bitcoin reserve, whatever the nonsense. It's just more money laundering. But in addition to the Sentinel Action Fund, he also gave to another super PAC backing Republican Senate candidates, also a previously disclosed donation, $10 million on October 1st. So again, like I said, he's not just giving this money to Trump. He's spreading it around to all the places to try to get Republican influence so that they could sweep all of Congress. All right, Senate Leadership Fund, the massive super PAC aligned with the GOP leaders. So now Mitch McConnell's going to get his little piece of the pie too. Yeah, Mitch the Glitch.
Get his mind right.
All right. Some of Musk's other contributions this year reported in FEC filings include the following: $1 million on August 23rd to the Early Vote Action Super PAC. Okay, $825,000 to the Hispanic Leadership Alliance, a group aligned with Representative Tony Gonzalez from Texas, another Republican. I mean, he's aligning with one side here, which is interesting because normally businessmen buy off both sides.
Play both. Yeah.
All right. But he's just completely bought. He's all in on Trump. Now, what would have happened had he lost? I don't know. But luckily, nobody's going to need to know that. And luckily for him, at least, I kind of would have liked to see what would have happened. But yeah, he bought all in. All right. And these are, again, Texas. Remember where Tesla's based, headquartered. My guess is that would be the congressman for his district. All right. Nearly $311,000 to Representative Ken Calvert in a, again, toss-up district. That he just literally threw a nickel. It's literally like from us throwing a nickel or a dollar and like donating to a cause. Yeah, it's $311,000. For us, that's a year, and we could hire 5 people and make a monstrous difference to people. For him, it's like nothing. Musk companies, Tesla and SpaceX, have combined for, here's the rub, $15.4 billion in government contracts over the past decade, according to the Times. So this is how he gets the return on investment. He continues to get his SpaceX contracts. He continues to get his Powerwall contracts. He continues to get Tesla contracts with cities and with the federal government. He's going to get his Twitter, whatever clone is already embedded with the CIA, and The Boring Company is another one that he owns. You know, he's big in Dogecoin. He's I think the single largest holder of Doge, which they literally birthed from nothing, and he's got an ungodly amount of them that's now worth 42 cents. And if you do the multipliers on all of those and can multiply out what his ROI is on those and what he's worth now just in that, holy shit. It's frightening. All right. His net worth is put at $343 billion. $300 billion. I didn't even know it was that big. I thought it was about 180, which was what Bezos was when he got divorced, and he had to give like 100 billion to his ex. All right. But yeah, that's the greatest fucking in history, by the way. Is Lauren, no, whoever Jeffrey Bezos' ex. Yeah, she stuck with him for 20 some odd years, but Jesus, she got the biggest payoff ever. But yeah, I wanted to get back. Jeffrey Bezos. Yes, Jeffrey Bezos, that guy. That's so funny. My daughter,
CEO entrepreneur.
My daughter played a video that had that song in it, and I started singing it. She's like, "How do you know what that is, Daddy?" I'm like, "Oh, because Replay's another show."
CEO entrepreneur, born in 1964. Jeffrey Bezos.
Awful, just awful. Yeah, but yeah, the PayPal Mafia guys. So again, you've got Pierre Omidyar, who literally put the Maidan coup in place and is the reason why we're in Ukraine and pushing on the door of Russia and having problems there. He's the founder of eBay.
Good friends with Peter Thiel and the PayPal Mafia, yes.
Not good friends with. He hired all of, because he founded eBay and then put all these fuckers in place to start PayPal, so that his people had a way, the eBay customers had a way to bank. David Sachs was part of that group. There are several others that are also now getting involved with the government, as well as with Trump and Musk and everybody else, that you're starting to see that come back around. But yes, it's Thiel, Musk, Sachs, and Omidyar are the large influencers that are within that PayPal Mafia segment. But they're not the only ones, like I said. They're just the ones that we know about, that we talk about all the time. But they're all worth billions. And they're all highly influential. On the other side, you've got Reid Hoffman. You've got an Eric Schmidt. And I watched a video today, the other day, it was on the Independent Review, had clipped Whitney Webb talking with James Corbett. And Whitney was saying that, look, while it appears that Peter Thiel and Eric Schmidt are at odds and on opposite sides of the coin, they are both members of the Bilderberg Group. So, again, it's like kayfabe. Which side are you going to align with, and which side? They're getting you to pick a side, which way, one way or another, whether that is Trump or Harris, or somewhere further down the line, Democrats or Republicans. Somewhere they want you to choose a binary, one or the other, because then you're stuck into a fight with the people that are on the other side, and they can continue to run away with the green and distract you. That's their whole game. They've been looting this system for our whole lives. I don't know how to stop it, but I know how to call it out and to say shit about it. I mean, it's where we have to start, is telling other people and letting them be aware. Right? It's stopping watching their their corporate news and buying into their corporate driven narratives. Right? It's fighting this whole system that we're stuck in any way that we can, to continue to stick little knives in the machine just wherever we can. We're not going to stop the machine, but we can fuck it up a little bit. All right. Fred Edward, that's funny. Choose INN, not TYT. Amen, brother, to that.
Yeah.
Do that.
Huh?
That's a good idea, folks. All right. And before we yes, well, again, TYT funded by Jeffrey Katzenberg, INN funded by you, everyone. And they can say they're funded by you, but they've got their corporate donors. Yeah. We do not. We've got you. We've got these people that are on that board. We've got Sean Miller, who hooks us up weekly. We got Charlie Mack, who hooks us up weekly. We got Anna Mayers, who hooks us up all the time. Kameshwari Kate hooked us up huge. Natalie Williams, oh my God, love you so much. Golden, like there's so many great people on this list that are supporting this. Dr. Nick, Bad Cookies, Brett Wilkins, an Indie Media Award honoree on the list. And it looks like we got a founding member to Indie Media tonight. Thank you so much. Who was it? Let's see. New paid subscriber. We just got it on the books. And it is Kameshwari Kate. Thank you so much, Kate. You're the best. I love you. And that is over at Indie Media Today. That's over at my newsletter. It could be over at INN. No, that's Indie Media Today. Cool. And we're going to get back to the stories. Because I've got, well, you know, normally we talk about stories that we miss. This is not a story that anybody's missed. But there's a couple of points that I think people didn't point out that are in this one and that I'm going to bring that. That's why I'm bringing it, because it's still important. All right. There's a guy named Eric Gross. Now, I'll tell you a story about how I first found Eric Gross about a month ago on Substack Notes. He wrote a note about how he had a argument via DMs with his friend in New Jersey. His Jewish friend in New Jersey. Imagine that. And at first he felt guilty about how hard he had gone because they were arguing about Gaza and about genocide and about ethnic cleansing. And he said, I didn't really feel bad about, you know, the images I was sending him. I didn't feel bad about, and the post really resonated with me. He got a follow from me. So when he wrote this article about this shooting of the UnitedHealthcare CEO, insurance CEO this week, that's been the story of the news, the big distraction. And I hate covering the big distraction of the week because it's a distraction. The distraction from the fact that they used the CIA and HTS to topple to topple Syria. Who must go? You know, they wanted Assad gone for a long time, and they also used this distraction to kind of do that in a way. I think that, you know, it was already on the books, but how convenient that there's this kind of national attention completely driven elsewhere when the Middle East is totally about to fall into collapse. All right. But I read this article that he wrote, and I thought it was a really comprehensive look at, and it's from the side that we would look at it from, which is the no mercy on a CEO that has had policies in place that would deny healthcare, and we're going to talk about all of that. The thing I found most interesting, I'll save that for the end. Let's go through some of the article, and maybe it'll fit here. But he says, the public, no sympathy for the devil. The public murder of a healthcare CEO has shown a spotlight on the revolutionary class division rising in 2024 America. And I think we talk about all the time, ain't no war but class war right now. All right. That it's all of us against the 1%ers and the 5%ers and the people who are comfortable right now. All right. Because they're trying to maintain the status quo. He says, yesterday at 6:45 in the morning, UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson was shot and killed outside a Hilton hotel in Midtown Manhattan as he departed for a shareholder meeting to celebrate the insurance company's growing profits. The incident was caught on camera and launched an immediate nationwide onslaught of 24-hour news coverage typically reserved for presidential assassination attempts or billionaire submarine excursions. Or school shootings, you know, for that matter. It will likely continue for several days, or at least until the perpetrator is apprehended. Type his name into any search engine or social media app to see firsthand evidence of this media mania, or just check Google's trends page that tracks traffic. This is what the page auto-loaded 14 hours after the killing. And you can just see, why is UnitedHealthcare CEO trending? And they explain why. And you can just see that jump. All right. More than 24 hours after the shooting, the trends page still auto-loaded a related search about words written on the 3 bullet casings found at the scene: deny, defend, depose. And that had only gone up and had peaked just a few hours before he screen capped that, which was at 11:45 a.m. on Thursday. All right. Virtually none of the initial media reports mentioned that Brian Thompson was being sued by the Hollywood Firefighters Pension Fund after selling his personal UnitedHealthcare stock prior to public notice of the DOJ investigation into the company in February of this year, which immediately tanked the stock and erased $25 billion in valuation. He protected his
billion with a
bill with a buh.
with a buh
With a buh. Yes, with a buh.
Okay.
That's a buh.
Okay.
Yes, with a B.
25 of them buzz.
Erasing $25 billion in valuation, he protected his own investments with insider information after the company was notified of the investigation in October of last year. He knew for months. The next window that opened up, he dumped all his stock, and then they announced the investigation. The stock tanked afterwards, but hey, man, I got mine out. But it wasn't just him. All right, and I think this is mentioned later on, but the chairman of the board of UnitedHealthcare also dumped during that February period to the tune of $85 million. Yes, that's $85 million, not $25 billion, but he cashed out for $85 million. He'll probably end up in jail and have to give all that back. As politicians and business leaders rushed to social media to express their condolences, and reporters poured over Thompson's history and reports of death threats that he received, the online conversation among the American public took a decidedly different tone. A near universal condemnation of UnitedHealthcare, the U.S. healthcare system, insurers in general, and Brian Thompson himself as a criminal and purveyor of mass suffering and death for profit. He served as CEO since April of 2021. Conveniently, I believe that was the month that they started issuing COVID shots. How about that? Okay. But of course, the elites deflect and hide. So while we're having one conversation,
yeah,
there's a whole other conversation going on in Ritchieville. While the wealthy and privileged children clutched their pearls and clamored to strengthen their personal security, UnitedHealthcare stealthily removed a webpage from their site called Our Leadership that featured photos.
It's a prank!
They removed a webpage from their site called Our Leadership that featured photos and bios of its executive team. The search result still appears in Google, and for a while after the killing, it loaded a page not found message, but a day later, it now simply just redirects to the company's homepage. No harm, no foul, like it never existed. What? People? No, you're not going to... Board? No! You're not going to find out who they are anymore. The board meets in secret. It seems that in an instant, the security and safety of the ultra-rich and powerful was revealed to be a mirage, a facade projected by the media and law enforcement designed to convince the many that there's no way to touch the few. It's almost certain that high-profile corporate executives, particularly those in industries and companies that directly harm human beings will begin spending more money to hire personal security for public appearances. This may extend to the executives in the insurance, fossil fuel, chemical, and pharmaceutical industries that are widely
Military
reviled.
industrial complex.
Yeah, that are widely
those.
reviled. Well, they're probably carrying anyway themselves, and they may have military escorts.
Don't matter.
That's true.
That, again, don't matter.
But they're widely reviled by the public and specifically hated by individuals directly impacted by their misdeeds, from the Sacklers to the Kochs. The wave of fear could even reach political leaders, many of whom already receive frequent death threats and are commonly perceived as responsible for direct harm to civilians, like responsible for genocide, which they fucking are.
Yep.
Bring every one of these motherfuckers up to the Hague, especially Tom Cotton, by the way. I want Tom Cotton up there
Tom
first.
Cotton.
Fuck you, Tom Cotton.
Fuck you.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
All right. Among the first reactionaries was Democrat Senator Amy Stapler throwing Klobuchar from no, don't say that, because that even glorifies the person who I first heard of. Minnesota with her Uncle Dick.
He stole it
where
from
of
me.
course UnitedHealthcare is headquartered. All right. So she's pandering to a large constituent. This is a horrifying and shocking act of violence. My thoughts are with Brian Thompson's family and loved ones and all those working at you.
It's a fray!
All those working at UnitedHealthcare in Minnesota. Please donate to my campaign, UnitedHealthcare. Please don't take those donations away. Please.
I'd like to see how his fare fares in a blizzard.
Because Senator Klobuchar has received at least $182,870 from UnitedHealthcare throughout her political career, according to Open Secrets. That's just directly from the company, let alone the executives, their employees. And remember, they're all headquartered there. So they all max out to their nice Democratic senator because they all want their health care money, right?
Yeah.
It's unclear why she chose to mention all those working at UnitedHealthcare in Minnesota. Since the incident occurred in New York and was clearly a targeted attack against the CEO. The larger and more pertinent question, though, is how Klobuchar and her ilk can keep a straight face when responding this way while they refuse to acknowledge that the U.S. healthcare system, and specifically insurance providers, conduct constant violence against their customers and the American public for profit.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma.
Nice. Klobuchar's loyalties are made fairly clear by her lax reaction to the healthcare giant's continued consolidation of the industry while serving as the top Democrat on a Senate panel specifically focused on antitrust concerns.
Uh-huh. While she twiddles her thumbs.
The panel has questioned multiple competitor health insurers about mergers, but interestingly has never summoned UnitedHealth to testify, as it's gobbled up smaller companies and increased its vertical integration to control more of the health insurance process and data. Huh. Weird how when you buy off a senator's favor who's the chair of that committee, they don't investigate your company, but they investigate all their competitors. Weird how that happens. Huh. Check out the senator's Twitter or Threads accounts to see the responses to her post, which carry an almost unanimous sentiment
authorization
of scorn, derision, and sarcasm using the language of the health insurance industry. Yes, thoughts and prayers require prior authorization. More citizens should get involved in CEO's health, and it's only fair. Diplomatic immunity is the first thing. Medicare for all could have saved this man's life. I literally had that same tweet. All right. Too bad your thoughts were never with those who suffered and died after this man's minions denied care. Not to mention that he'll have the Hill Healthcare Pros, Hill have gone through the hell healthcare pros have gone through. Sorry. Oh, terrible punctuation.
Yep.
Thanks, Elon. What about the tens of thousands they killed by denying claims? Says the woman who has the best health insurance in the country. Yeah. Yep, those guys. Now, every similar post from a titan of industry or American politician has received the same response of universal dissent and disapproval of the hand-wringing by the elite classes, except for, funny enough, the Trumpers that are really mad for some reason. Really mad.
Some of them. The others, not so much.
Okay, well, I've seen a whole group of people that's really mad, and God forbid
I've seen a bunch of people under some particular pundits' YouTubes that are like, nah, it ain't just the left.
The poor CEOs. You know, it ain't, but, all right. But what he said was, for reference, the average day in America sees more than 132 people killed by guns. I'm going to repeat that because I can't believe I just had to read that sentence, but I did. The average day in America sees more than 132 people killed by guns. That's got to be more than anywhere else in the world.
How many people in America die by not having their medical procedures covered? I bet you a lot more than 132.
Well, that's what he's going to do that too. That's 132 people shot to death every single day without end, mostly without any widespread media coverage or statements from elected officials. But when the victim is rich, powerful industry executive, thoughts and prayers and condemnations pour out of our elected leaders even faster than the cash that flows into their pockets from the industry. That is fucking poetry right there. One of the reasons why I brought that article is because of that sentence. Just fucking great. Now, talking about deny, defend, and depose, under Brian Thompson's leadership, profits at UnitedHealthcare have risen from $12 billion in 2021 to $16 billion in 2023, a 33% jump in just 2 years. Huh? How did they do that? That would be an amazing, almost unbelievable result for any established company in any industry. But of course, in healthcare, it's dumbfounding. Did the company start offering more popular services? Did it greatly increase its customer base? Did it eliminate unnecessary expenses?
No.
Or did it simply push more lucrative Medicare Advantage plans that target senior Americans with supplemental coverage to Medicare that's long been regarded as a scam for denying claims, charging the government huge sums for unnecessary procedures, and failing to provide the promised benefits? Ding, ding, ding. The Department of Health and Human Services itself found that in 2024 that Medicare Advantage providers overbilled taxpayers by billions of dollars every year. In August of this year, it was revealed that Congress nearly dealt with this in 2014, but as nearly always happens, ended up caving to demands from the industry to allow the continued theft of billions of dollars to boost profits, stock prices, and subsequent campaign contributions to those same members of Congress. Amazing how that laundry funnel works. Congress ignores the law. The insurance companies bilk billions out of the public. They pay out big money to shareholders, which are the wealthy and the Congress people themselves that invest in these companies because there's nothing stopping them besides the $500 quarterly fine for do so. And then on top of it, you've got the PACs, the super PACs, and all of the nonprofit organizations that they fund in order to buy influence and lobbying organizations, and then the executives that they end up putting on the FDA. Let's not forget about that they also put that the healthcare and that the pharmaceutical industry and that the healthcare industry are funding and providing the executives for the FDA.
The money is there.
Right? So did it simply push those plans? Right? This is how legal bribery works in Congress across all industries. When Congress identifies an illegality or an issue that it could fix through legislation, that industry's lobbyists descend on Washington to warn the elected officials that they'll harm jobs, they'll hurt the economy, and most importantly, they won't receive future funding for their next election campaign.
I am once again asking for your financial support.
Fuck the Shepherd of Hopes. Fuck that guy. For representatives, this is an especially effective message or threat because, of course, they're up for re-election every 2 years and thus must be constantly weary of any organization that could spend millions to support a competitor for their seat, which happens all the time. Now, they get a lot of name recognition, and there's like a 90% re-election rate for a lot of these fuckers. So it's kind of an empty threat. But it's also that 90% of the time, the better funded candidate ends up winning. It's just that the incumbent uses that power to gain better access to better funding and remain the better funded candidate. Now, he says here that it's the same argument that Joe Biden and Lindsey Graham, Lady G, make when supporting war. The same argument Joe Manchin and all the Republicans make when demanding an increased fossil fuel use, and the same argument that automakers and baby formula producers make when anyone tries to regulate them to improve safety or reduce harms to the environment and population. You lose us money.
Like pulling out heavy metals, you know?
Yeah, you lose us money, and then we'll attack you electorally. And here we get to the crux. Money. And here we get to the crux of the issue. Snow Himbo. And where's my Tim Curry soundbite? We're going to hear it in a second. UnitedHealthcare, okay, profits over people always. What happened? We froze?
Capitalism.
Thank you. My favorite.
Capitalism.
There we go. UnitedHealthcare has the highest rate of claims denials of any U.S. health insurance company by far. This chart has made the rounds and will be seared into the public consciousness for a long time to come. It shows how UnitedHealthcare's denial rate is double the industry average of 16%.
Damn.
And that Kaiser Permanente is less than half, by the way. A lot of people dog on Kaiser Permanente, as have I. And I don't like the Kaiser Health News. I feel like they... Go ahead.
I wish this chart also gave, like, not just percentage rates, but, like, actual denials. Right? So that way you could, like, add up all the denials of, like...
Oh, the total number?
The entire industry. Mm-hmm.
Well, then you
like,
also have to
it'll
know...
be in the billions of people, it feels like, you know.
You'd also have to know how many customers they had and how many claims each one of them filed. So there's a bunch of multiple, variables there that you would have to consider. All right, and each person, files multiple claims, and it's crazy how they file a ridiculous amount and they end up settling, and your bill's like $28 at the end. But it was $3,000 for a doctor visit that you did nothing in, but got like weighed and they took your blood pressure. But that's how the insurance company settles with the medical office, and everybody gets paid. In addition to this year's HHS findings of Medicare Advantage plan providers overcharging the government for unnecessary services, a Senate investigation also announced in October that UnitedHealthcare, CVS, and Humana are using AI tools to more rapidly make decisions on claims, and the result has been faster denials and increased rates of denials, and they've known it.
Which I looked into some of that, and it was like they designed it specifically to, like, deny more people. You know?
Because AI, they didn't
has
program
no emotion.
They didn't program the AI properly, obviously, because this was done not necessarily by design,
No, it's by design.
No, I think that
Literally,
that
they designed it that way.
there are variables that they could not possibly foresee or understand.
I'm saying they did.
That's by design. Yes, it's all by design.
Like,
yes,
literally
sir.
by design.
Yes.
This specifically is what I'm saying.
The report is the report is extremely damning, noting that United's post-acute care denials, which refers to claims and needs following surgeries or major illness, has already more than doubled from 10.9 to 22.7% in the last 2 years. Did people stop getting sick half as much?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you also don't use all of your anesthetic when you go into surgery. So, there's like carryover anesthetic from your last surgery. So we can like pull some numbers off that so we don't have to pay as much on your knockout drug while you're getting cut open.
Now, what he says was that a lot of this is due to their purchase of NaviHealth, which is a company that handles prior authorization processes between doctors and insurers. Okay. But NaviHealth told customer service representatives to not help providers with prior authorization questions. Important. Literally mandated, do not guide providers or give providers answers to the questions. I think the HHS might want to have something to say about that. Somebody might want to have something to say about that.
Yep.
The use of artificial intelligence for purposes of expediting decisions has been expedited at breakneck speed across industries. Agenda 2030, anyone? But its growth in healthcare is among the most directly impactful on people's lives. These efforts to consolidate and automate processes are occurring in every applicable industry as rapidly as possible, from advertising and insurance to coding to surveillance, logistics and warehouse management. This is where the reader gets a couple of reminders from Eric. First, the United States is the only country on earth that operates its healthcare system primarily for private profit, with the exception of Medicare and Medicaid, which are government funded and not the same as private Medicare Advantage plans.
Yep.
Second, the United States is one of the only countries where healthcare commonly pushes citizens into bankruptcy, with up to 600,000 medical bankruptcies reported every year, potentially accounting for up to 62% of all bankruptcies. Which means you have over 1 million bankruptcies a year.
Yeah.
All right. And that's not all. The 2022 Kaiser Family Foundation report, and like I said, I'm not a huge fan of theirs because it feels like they put out a lot of propaganda on behalf of the health insurance industry to try to make themselves look a little better. All right.
Yeah.
But they found that life-altering effects of medical costs and debts in America go well beyond bankruptcy. All right. Because people are literally cutting spending on food, clothing, and other basics in order to be able to cover their costs of health care. This is real. 48% have used up almost all or all of their savings. 40%.
Because I'm all out of money!
40% taking on extra work. You know, the economy's great. I've got 3 jobs and I still can't pay my rent. Delaying buying a home or an education, I think that's actually even higher than that. Because I don't think that there's even the possibility for a lot of people. It's so far out of the realm to even think about buying a home.
I remember, like, when was it? Like, fucking, when Bernie was running, people were talking about, no one can afford a $200 emergency.
$400, I'm sure,
right?
That's
like went way lower.
75%
probably can't afford a $100 emergency, let alone.
It was that 65% or 2/3 of Americans could not afford a $400 emergency, medical or otherwise, without going into debt and having to put some on the credit card. But these numbers are depressing, stunning, and real. And the wealthy are in denial about a lot of it, or they say, oh, tisk, that's terrible, it must change. But they don't really want things to change too much because they're making a ton of money, not necessarily off of this, but off of the ancillary industries that support it.
Yeah.
Data also indicates that millions of people pay for medical care with high interest credit cards, which furthers the debt load and the corporate profits from healthcare services. Think about the amount of Visa profit they're making because people swipe their health insurance bill on a credit card, and Visa's getting a piece of that every month. By the way, full disclosure, I do own shares in Visa in my retirement account. That's because it makes a shitload of money. A Zillow report from 2019 is equally enlightening, showing that medical debt is a major factor in denials for mortgages, summarized thusly. Quote, Zillow's survey found that 38% of buyers who owe money for healthcare expenses said they'd been turned down for a mortgage because of medical debt. That was a significantly higher rejection rate than for buyers with student loans at 28% or credit card debt at 22%. That's weird. I mean, it's debt. Does it really matter where the debt's coming from, whether it's medical, student loan, or credit card? Really? I guess credit card because the interest rate might be a little bit higher. Maybe. I don't know. But he gets right down to the bottom line is when we see the struggles of the citizenry contrasted against the concerns of the rich, powerful, and political elites, quote unquote, it's dishonest to feign shock or surprise that a healthcare CEO could be shot at point blank in public. Reactions like Senator Klobuchar's obstruct and deflect the conversation to be one about crime because the leaders determine what constitutes a crime. When you end someone's life with a bullet, it's a heinous act of violence. If you, however, end someone's life by denying them medical care they're rightfully entitled to receive, that's a positive for shareholders. If you gouge them so heavily that they must take out loans, well, that's just business, baby. In fact, it's just good business. That deserves a bonus. That's how Brian Thompson earned more than $10 million in total compensation in 2023. He oversaw a massive expansion of intentional denials that vastly exceeds every other competitor's denial rates, and he was rewarded handsomely for it by the company and its shareholders, who are also rewarded handsomely. Go figure. This is the core evil creating a for-profit healthcare system. Those in power have direct yet obscured control over the very survival of hundreds of millions of citizens with virtually no power to control their own care or fight back against the corporate machine determining whether they live or die or go homeless. If we should be surprised by anything, it should be how long it's taken for individuals to fight back against the corruption and criminality that pervades so many of our systems and industries, perhaps most of all in healthcare. Every large healthcare corporation spends significant sums to lobby against universal healthcare, lower prescription drug costs, increased coverage mandates, and any other policies that might take a penny out of their bottom line. These lobbyists and corporate executives present themselves as fighters for life, the delivery vehicle for health. But in the end, they're nothing more than purveyors of mass death and constant suffering, sneering down at us from their protected perches. Parasites. Now, as what?
Watch
as
that movie?
Parasite?
Parasite?
No.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, as we enter,
I've not watched it, but I heard it's good.
Where is that? Where do you see? Where can you
Parasite?
yeah.
probably anywhere you find. It might even be on Netflix. I don't know. Won a ton of awards.
Just to finish it up, though, as we enter what may be the most tumultuous period in America since the Civil War, it seems that they're going to need more protection from all of us. Forget about giving us more health care, giving us more services so that we wouldn't feel the need at all to take a poke at a CEO of a murdering corporation like that. No, we need to protect the billionaires, of course. Okay. Yeah. He had originally cited 125 citizens, Americans killed by guns per day as 125, but it's actually 132, citing 48,204 firearm deaths by the CDC in 2022. Again, this is Eric Gross. I've been following him for about a month, and he just set this Substack up last night, Parking Lot Dispatch. It's Eric DeGrossi, but he goes under he publishes under the name of Eric Gross. He also has spoken out at his local council meetings. He's done food drives to feed the hungry. This guy lives it. He's in it. I don't agree with everything he believes and says, and that's okay. But I thought this was a really good, comprehensive article and said a lot of the things that I thought were really interesting here. Now, the one thing he did not say, and that nobody said, and I think I said it to Reef earlier, but I was on AM Wake Up at the end of the show on Friday when Steve opens up the StreamYard to everyone that wants to join in and talk. And his co-host for Monday night, his show Monday night, which is Blunt Force Wisdom over on the AM Wake Up channel, is a woman named Teal. And Teal pointed out that looking at the characteristics from that photo that they released, that could just as easily have been a woman, or maybe even somebody who was somewhere in between, some kind of surgery. I don't want to use the word because I don't want to have to take another lap, but because I got told to take a lap for using it on Friday. It was very funny, and I was like, I thought it was really interesting, that take, because think about two things. Number one, who in the family is usually the one dealing with the insurance company? And that's stereotypical and that's chauvinistic or whatever. But in my family specifically, and in most families I know, it's the womans. It's the mother. It's the wife. She's the one that deals with the health insurance and the coverage and the doctors and the scheduling and the claims and sits on hold. And maybe that, again, is being a little chauvinistic. I apologize if so.
Yes. Objection, speculative.
All right. However, remember what time this hit took, what time of day this hit took place as well. 6:45 in the morning. What man is getting up that early, getting fully dressed with a face mask on to take a poke at 6:45 in the morning? I'd say women are more likely to get up early in the morning and do that in anger and rage.
The CEO's up that way. The CEO's up that early.
He's making millions, bro.
And
that's what C-level executives.
If you want to go catch him,
that's what C-level executives do. But my point is,
you better be up.
Who tracks and targets better than a woman? Who stalks better than a woman? Oh, sorry. All right. Anyway, that was my little take. And that was actually Teal's take. That I thought woman. I thought it could have been a woman. Very easily could have been a woman. Mm-hmm. That photo looks like it could have been a woman.
Dr. Pepper. You ever think about that? Dr. Pepper could be a woman.
Well, there are female doctors, yes. That is correct. Sure glad I'm not sick. All right. So that was our fun story about the murder of a healthcare insurance company CEO in
what I'm gonna do?
Daylight on the street.
We're gonna make a comic book. It's gonna turn into a whole comic book franchise. We'll get Ryan Reynolds on it. Right. We're gonna call it The Orca. and it's just a vigilante that goes around taking out the worst CEOs on yachts, preferably.
I'm buying and I'm watching that. 100%.
Yeah. We'll work on it. We'll get it. We'll get the first one drawn up.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get to I got one more story and then some headlines, and then we can get to boats. By the way, boats tonight, as I saw Reef tweet out, is only going to be on Rumble. No YouTube tonight for boats, and I did not set up a QR code.
People to control click out.
So people may come here looking for boats, and they're not going to see it after midnight. They'll only find it on Rumble. So all of you guys are in the cool kids club. You'll have to tell people that they're going to have to be here. They'll have to go over to Rumble to watch it. All right. You know, last week I made reference to a Kit Knightley article. Oh, you know what? Before we do that, look up if you can. We love you all, and all these people have already taken care of INN the best they could and reached into their pockets and thrown a couple of bucks toward the network and toward the independent media they want to see. We don't have corporate funding. We have you. The easiest ways to do that are with Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal, and Patreon. We have the INN newsletter, which you can subscribe to monthly or annually. We also, by the way, have some new merch at indienews.shop, INDIE news.shop. You'll see that in the scrolling ticker as well. So you can pick up merch and support us in that way as well. Hannah, I know, ordered a couple tank tops. Cookie said that he ordered a beanie, which I can't wait for him to run around with an INN beanie. But I mentioned this article last week. Kit Knightley from Off Guardian wrote about how the media, and we've been talking about this ad nauseum, I think, for a while, but they, you know, corporate media has been dying. Corporate media has been losing viewership. Corporate media has been losing readership. Corporate media has been seeing that all the authenticity is from the people that are, quote unquote, considered independent. So they started.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
Occasionally. Once in a while. Once in a while. But what they want is to capture those viewers and to control the narrative. And what they are starting to try to do is infiltrate the independent space. And it's not even starting. It's been happening for a while. So Kit wrote this article I mentioned last week. Kit is also, Off Guardian is a Indie Media Award honoree, Best Outlet. Kit and Off Guardian, I believe, are a member of the Independent Media Alliance with Whitney Webb and Derek Brose and Last American Vagabond and Steve and Hervoye, Morick, and a bunch of other people. Jason Bassler from Free Thought Project, Catherine Austin Fitz from Solari Project. I mean, it's just a line of heavy hitters, top to bottom. Charlie Robinson from Macroaggressions. What Kit writes here is that the old mainstream is dying, and we know that it has been for years. This has only become more apparent in the weeks since Trump was reselected. All right. News that CNN is firing half their workforce, that MSNBC's ratings continue to slump and probably being sold, or at least is on the chopping block, or that The Guardian is leaving Twitter and in financial trouble, are all greeted with celebratory memes, right? Newspaper readership. We know newspaper readership has been dropping for decades, and TV news channels are struggling to drum up the audience of a moderately popular YouTube channel featuring cute cat videos set to quirky music. I remember that
will be on boats.
Chris Legion, our brother Chris Legion, wrote a paragraph about his Why I Left the Left, and it specifically talked about how people that make the most obscure channels with shit that you'd never think about get more views than some channels get in a month on one stupid video. And he said, you know what? That's all good stuff. CNN, MSNBC, The Guardian, as we saw before, and all of them, they deserve to go under. Digital communication has allowed people to undermine and overthrow decades-old propaganda outlets. But does that mean it's over? Is Elon Musk actually correct when he reassuringly declares on X that you are the media now? Which is really funny because I frequently, when I tell my wife a story and something about news that's happening right now, before she sees it on her phone and it breaks and she gets an alert, and I point it to her and I go, I am the media now. And
look at me.
Look at me. Look at me. I am the media now. That's right. Well, the answer to that depends on whether or not you think the same forces that spent untold resources constructing this system of information control are just going to give up and go home when it starts to fail. I mean, does anyone seriously think that they would? You don't think it's rather more likely that they'll just regroup, recalculate, and go again? Remember, newspapers and TV channels are functionaries of the establishment, not the establishment itself. For several centuries, well, in some cases, right, they are both, but usually the propagandists are separate. They're not the establishment. For several centuries, they've been crucial to selling ideas and agendas, but they're a voice, not a brain. They're a tool of control, and tools can easily be swapped out. One way or another, the internet has replaced television as the media. Yep, one way or another.
Or another.
Thank you. Just as television replaced radio and radio replaced print. This is the Darwinism selection process that flows with the development of technology. And while each step of that path has in some ways led to the democratization of the media landscape, each step also saw those in power adjust their methods to the freer flow of information. The quote-unquote free internet is just as vulnerable to money and influence of the elite as the quote-unquote free press was before it, only the tactics change. They buy influencers instead of buying journalists. In short, the mainstream media isn't
his own printing presses.
Right. The mainstream media isn't so much as dying as evolving. Today, if you want to sell a story to the whole world, you don't need blaring red breaking news banners on the 10 o'clock news. You can fund an independent
tweet.
You can just fund an independent podcaster to interview a whistleblower on a set decorated to look impromptu and stripped down. You pay YouTube to boost the video or make a few short clips to go viral. When it's popular enough, other YouTubers and podcasters will start repeating it or posting reaction videos. It doesn't even matter if they agree or they disagree. Either way, you've set the parameters of the discussion. Instead of full pages ads in the New York Times, NGOs, think tanks, and corporations can spend the same amount of money on a few thousand social media influencers. Think about how much a full page ad in the New York Times costs on a Sunday. It's like $70,000 for a business. You know how much influence over a month that can buy? How much propaganda? Holy shit.
Two influences. Exactly. Just two. No more, no less.
No, it's a lot more than that because that's $70,000 for one day on a Sunday for a full page ad. All right. I'm talking about over the course of a month. Sunday. But multiply that just out by 4. That's 280,000 just for the Sundays. All right. And spread that out where they're paying, say, $10,000 a month to a Harry Sisson. That's an army of influencers. There you go.
Yeah. Yep.
After a certain point, it's self-propagating. People want the trickle-down advertising revenue. Everyone wants those clicks, and nobody wants to be left out. Bot-filled audiences will post, please give us your take on current thing in the comments of channels or pages who don't take part until they cave and
think of that.
Join the throng to please their audience. All right?
Yep.
Not only is this a relatively cheap method of narrative control, it's also one that few people have learned to be skeptical about as yet. Of the growing numbers of media consumers who've become sophisticated enough to take legacy media stories with a pinch of salt, most will be inclined to be more trusting of seemingly organic trends voiced by seemingly organic people. How Tucker gave up all that money and he's fighting the system, man. He's fighting for
They're
us.
made of meat. Organic people. They're made of meat.
But of course, though we're conditioned to believe a trending hashtag has an inherent organic sincerity that the front page of the Washington Post lacks, this isn't the case. They can both be equally media marketing strategies. Don't forget.
I was watching last night the Ultimate Fighting Championships
On
right?
Russian Link.
As we do. Russian Link, as we do, yes. There was a commercial for, I think, what is it? Rocket Finance or whatever.
Rocket Mortgage, yep.
Which I've seen a ton of commercials for that. But it was interesting to me because it was like one of those, guy comes up to person on the street with phone and microphone and like, what do you know about bip 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 bip? You gonna hawk tool on that thing? Like it was like that kind of, but like as a television commercial.
Yep.
Like they're learning. They're learning that that's what people think is authentic. And running with that.
Right.
So
don't forget, most social media platforms are owned by the same handful of financiers and hedge funds that own CNN and The Guardian and Fox News and all the rest. They're advertising clouds, hosting as many or more bought and paid for voices as real people. Literally, Rumble calls what they're hosting the Rumble cloud. Propaganda is no longer a case of one authoritative voice speaking to a captive audience, but rather a bird swarm of bot noise, creating a potentially very manipulative and manipulated impression of consensus. Alongside that, we have the rise of major and well-funded independent voices that are almost certainly anything but Patrick Bet-David or Ian Carroll or Mario Awful or Dom Lucre.
If we can save the banks, then we can save the world.
So let's actually take a look at the alternative media landscape right now, quote unquote alternative media. At the top end, we have Tucker Carlson broadcasting on X Live to a far bigger audience than has watched on Fox News for years. We have Joe Rogan accepting $250 million packages from huge media conglomerates to broadcast his show to millions of people. We have Nigel Farage on GB News. All right, GBBs, a channel that didn't even exist 5 years ago, already surpassing the audience of Sky News and the BBC. It reminds me of kind of like The Hill and News Nation, which are now getting better ratings by far than CNN and News Nation didn't exist 5 years ago. We have Russell Brand and Candace Owens and Rory Stewart and perhaps dozens of other former mainstream voices podcasting away, giving us their personal takes from their deliberately informal-looking studios.
Oh, Hannity.
Oh, Tucker.
Oh, Judge Janine.
Oh, Steve Ducey.
Who's that terrible blonde lady whose own family hates her?
Laura Ingraham.
Oh, Laura Ingraham. Yes.
We have the richest man in the world supposedly devoting his time to posting memes to own the libs. All that guy does is shitpost all day on his own fucking app. What do words like alternative and indie even mean anymore when applied to people like this? This is what I've been saying, is that they have occupied and co-opted the name, just like they co-opted the word progressive. And I literally wrote this in my article last week in my origin story, how they co-opted the word progressive. They're now trying to co-opt the word independent and alternative. He says, I believe it was David Icke who coined the term mainstream alternative media to describe this phenomenon, but that phrase may already have aged into inaccuracy. After all, if they already have more viewers than CNN and more money than The Guardian, in what way are they any longer alternative? In fact, Aren't they the new mainstream? And
sorry. What?
Yeah. And membership of this new mainstream is going to be just as exclusive as it was of old. You can be sure that none of us in the lower alt echelons need apply.
Book of Carlin, chapter 3, verse 2.
That's right. They say the medium is the message, but they're wrong. The message is the message. The medium is just the medium, the platform. Your favorite word, platform. The delicious sugar coating that makes the blue pill so easy to swallow and then makes your dick hard for 4 hours. And then you have to see a doctor. But, sorry, wrong show. Tucker Carlson can be paid to lie to you just as easily as on Twitter as on Fox News or MSNBC. Trending hashtags are just a new way to propagandize your brain that you haven't quite caught on to yet. The mainstream media is dead. Long live the mainstream media. Now, the
Keep
other
in
half.
mind,
Go ahead.
The internet runs on engagement. It's clicks and views. That's what they bring to their shareholders.
And fighting.
That's what they show them. So it doesn't matter whether you're calling them out or they get what they want.
Your
by
attention.
Eyeballs looking at it.
They want your attention.
So,
and every time you give it to them, every time you watch that stupid clip, every time you make that stupid clip of somebody, you're giving them the attention as well as taking the attention off of a real independent.
So instead, engage with the ones you want people to see more of.
And
Pretty simple.
That will also, by the way, as Reef continuously tells you, it helps you condition your news feed so that you're getting a better quality feed. And after a while, you don't even see these morons, especially when you block them and you use the muted keywords like we do.
Fantastic.
All right. Highly recommended. All right. You can curate your news feed to make it look the way you need it to look and that you want it to look. Now, I wanted to bring this other port because not only is the corporate media now become the mainstream, the internet media, corporate media moved to the internet, just still mainstream, in order to replace and maintain those eyeballs and make sure that nobody is looking at the actual independents. Well, how are they going to do that? Well, they've taken on a multitude of ways of censoring independents, but this is a new one, sort of. They've done this before. They've been doing it to Garland Nixon now for the better part of a year. And now Cathy Vogan from Consortium News has also had her account permanently suspended on Twitter X. Mary Kostakidis, very famous in Australia. She used to be a broadcaster similar like a Dan Rather, but she spectacularly made this speech denouncing the mainstream corporate media as sexist, and she had almost 20 years ago and has been an independent ever since. She's shunned completely by corporate media at this point. She tweeted out the other day, I cannot understand why Twitter has banned permanently Cathy, nor can she. She's been exceptionally careful in her posts. She's a professional who's been using Twitter for many years to report and share hers and others' journalism. Simply stating for violating X rules isn't enough support. How? What did she do? And why not give her an opportunity to fix whatever your algorithm has identified as so problematic so as not to suspend her account, but a long history of work that is now inaccessible to her? What they've done is not just about silencing her and isolating her from all her friends and professional contacts as a journalist. The permanent suspension extends not only into the future, but 15 years into the past. All the tweets history that she had is gone. They've erased all of my reporting, my thoughts, and my creative works from the historical record. It seems they're preventing me from retrieving it. Really, this is very bad for the reputation. But look at all that free speech. Look at all that free speech, right, Elon? This, by the way,
much free speech, much wow.
I posted back on November 26th that it had been 3 weeks. And Cathy had posted on her Facebook page that she had been locked out for 16 days. And what they're saying is a technical issue. This is before it was permanently suspended. But then there were too many times that she didn't pass the Arcros challenge and she got the error message after doing it. All right. For some unusual activity. And this is the unusual activity, is her trying to log into her own account. Insane. Consortium also wrote an article about this that I will include in the description after post, but I wanted to make mention, and most people don't even realize, Cathy is the executive producer for CN Live, which is the video stream for Consortium News. She's a great supporter of INN and good friend of Misty's, as well as, you know, great Assange supporter. And I think a lot of what they're trying to erase is the historical record about the people who spoke out openly about supporting Assange. One by one, systematically, we're all getting erased. Our timelines are being erased. All right. Yeah, they locked him out for the same something went wrong and then prove you're a human scam. Bullshit. All right. And nobody seems to want to fix this problem. All right. So that's Consortium News under attack, and independent media under attack from corporate media, because this is a battle for your attention. Straight up. They want to get your attention. They want to squirrel you. They want to distract you from listening to anybody who's trying to debunk and to tell you what they're actually up to. Because God forbid anybody else had a narrative that's different from theirs. It's a real problem. So therefore, please support INN, support independent media, support the people that are countering that narrative, because it's everywhere, man. It's so pervasive. You know, Jesse Jet plays a song, and I played it in the pre-show music called Red Pilled. It's actually the song in our outro music, and it talks about how I wish I didn't know what I know now, and you can't unknow, and you can't go backwards, and it sucks that you can't go backwards, but you have to figure out how to live with all this, and be a different person. But geez, it's really hard to swallow at times. I'll say that. Yes, that's what phrasing. Yes, I need the phrasing one, but that's okay. Cathy Vogan is base. Yes, she is. Lone Star Viz, what's up, dude? Good to see you. All right, we have good. We're running right on time. I have about 10 minutes worth of headlines or so, and some stuff to watch and a couple clips. No, we're good. We're good. We're good, dude. We're good. Shush.
Hurry up.
Shush. All right.
Hurry up. No.
Number one, I thought this was really interesting. Workplace sabotage as a tool of solidarity. Just make sure that the machine breaks. Make sure that you walk a little slowly. Make sure that things don't exactly get done quite as efficiently as they could if the boss doesn't come up with what you're asking for. And I thought that was an interesting article from In These Times, which I'm not always the biggest fan of, but I did like this article. So I'll include this link.
I don't really want to do the work today. I don't really want to do the work today. I don't really want to do the work today. I don't want to do the work today.
Very good. That goes right along with nobody wants to work anymore. Yeah. Right? So
why is there so much echo on that?
I don't know. I think I might have had my speakers were on. I had my speakers on.
All right.
So it was in the microphone and the Lauria. Anyway, next. Here's one I didn't hear about anywhere else. Boeing settled on a $243 million plea deal, and then the judge rejected it. Why? Because of how they want to assign an independent federal monitor. You remember the UAW has an independent federal monitor because of corruption. This is because of the 737 MAX and the whistleblowers that are saying that they've been skirting safety regulations. The reason why the judge rejected it was not because of the money, but because of Boeing wanted to be able to reject one of the 6 federal monitors. And they also wanted to have the federal monitor report directly to somebody else and not to the judge. The judge wants them to report directly to the judge. You tell me what the fuck's going on. Don't report to the FCC or any governing body over this. I want to know. And that's the judge. Yeah, the Boeing would have been allowed to block one of 6 monitor candidates from being hired. All right. The victims' families would rather that the monitor be selected by and report to the court to guarantee compliance. All right. And they also argued that the court should reject the plea agreement because monitor selections will be made in keeping with the department's commitment to DEI, which they could make race a factor in picking a monitor, and they don't want that. So go through this Freightways, again, $243 million plea deal. This is in the 737 MAX case. Crazy how little that is. It should be in the billions. But I also brought another Freightwave story that I thought every industry that I've seen has received what I would call a Trump bump. Since the election, Wall Street seems to love the fact that Trump's coming back. Yeah. And it ain't just Wall Street, it's Main Street. It's the crypto world. And now trucking. But when you dig a little deeper, it's not really that much. Now, November trucking jobs see a healthy rise. What's a healthy rise? When you dig a little bit more into the numbers, an increase of 2,900 jobs from a total of 1.5 million, which was only 700 jobs higher than where truck transportation stood in May. Like, it's been a stagnant industry. And they're celebrating 2,900 new jobs. Oof, that ain't good. Good, not good. And now Amazon's unionizing with their truckers. Watch what's going to happen. You're going to see more autonomous trucks under Trump. And you're going to see that's how they're going to end up dealing with the unionization of truckers. And the Teamsters trying to get involved with the Amazon truckers and the labor union. Next, we have Erin Brockovich. Everybody knows, and she's actually Indie Media Award honoree because she does excellent reporting on water and environment. A new toxin in our tap water, an unknown infection byproduct, now has a new name. All right, plus big deadline.
Fluoride. Oh, sorry.
What? No, it's not. It's not fluoride. What? And she was actually one of the proponents. Remember that, wait a minute, we did an article from her 2 years ago talking about how we were over-fluoridating our water. All right?
Mm-hmm.
But she says you can't treat water unless you know what's in it. Just like a blood test for disease, you can only find what you test for. And Scott C. Smith says the same thing about dioxins. You can only find what you test for. If you don't order a specific test for a specific chemical, you won't know it's there. You can't test the toxicity of a chemical without tracking it down first. And now they finally discovered a previously unknown compound in chlorinated drinking water called chloramines. Chloramines. They're commonly used to disinfect drinking water as a means to provide increased protection from bacterial contamination. Researchers have identified chlorinatramide anion, if that's right, I'd be a miracle, chemically expressed as ClNNO2 as an end byproduct of inorganic chloramine decomposition, and it's toxic. But it's not presently known. Its prevalence and similarity to other toxic compounds is concerning and warrants further study to assess its public health risks. Bottom line is they just found out about this chemical, and now we're going to have to study it to see how bad it is. And I'm sure it's not going to be pretty. All right. Check out thebrockovichReport.com. Then we got this one. And this is, indulge me for a second. Blue Sky is a shitlib haven and Brock bot haven. All right. A year plus ago, I was offered a invite code to get on Blue Sky. Maybe it was even 2 years ago when Elon first bought Twitter, and a lot of people were looking for alternatives. And as a member of Substack, we got access to Blue Sky account for, and it was only invite only early on. I got one. I figured I'd reserve it, park it. I put a couple posts there. There was nobody. There was a wasteland. There's been all this talk and chatter for the last 5 or 6 weeks about how all these people have left Twitter and they're moving to Blue Sky. And Blue Sky is this crazy place where all this activity is happening. 25 million new users have shown up in the last 5 weeks. Well, this guy, who I don't always agree with again, but I like what they've been doing on Blue Sky, because what they've been doing is looking at the fire hose of data that Blue Sky makes available. So he's just spamming the fire hose, right? They make all of the data available via API, like Twitter used to do, so that you can pull every tweet and pull every account being set up and everything. It's all public. It's all out there. And this person has been building algorithmic bots to look at the fire hose to tell me certain things, all right? And what they found, 2,200 spam accounts, half of which belong to a single network. And this is the code that they wrote to pull all the different accounts.
Hello, world.
All right. But they all are repeating the same messaging. All right. They're porn spam, or they're passionate about a certain topic. Right. And then he's got, like, here's the descriptions. Passionate about building meaningful connections in the field of art. Passionate about inspiring positive change in the field of culture. And that's everyone on this line in the middle. This one has passionate about contributing to impactful projects in the field of nature exploration. And there's literally 15 profiles that have the exact same description. These are bots. All right. And then it's how many accounts are using this language? How many people are they following? And who are they following? Who are they sharing? This person goes really deep to find all that. Now, by the way, here's a daisy botnet, literally a daisy chain, all right, where they're finding profiles all named Daisy, a number named Daisy, and a number .bsky.social. And a lot of them have the same description, different profile pics, some of them using recycled profile pics, slightly rotated. All right, they're using, like, thispersondoesnotexist.com. Remember that website to generate bot profile pics. All right. Again, They talk about Daisy. Right, this is not only are they creating accounts, but they're also creating lists of accounts, because you can follow a list and everybody on it very quickly and easily. Part of this is the growth. So check this out. This is Conspirador Norteño. You can see them up there. So that's conspirator0.substack.com. Again, I'll put all these links in the description afterwards. I thought this was really interesting and proof that it's not organic what's happening over there. It's mostly journalists, influencers, and shitlibs and bots. And a dozen leftists trying to make a thing. Trying to make it a thing. They're trying really, really hard. All right. Next one, I wanted to grab a quick video that I had. This one. I saw Chris Hedges had a conversation with Matt Kennard, both Indie Media Award honorees. So I thought that would have been an interesting one to bring. All right. Pause. Come back. This. And let's go here. Okay. No, let's go back here. This is fine.
But effectively, the UK just takes its orders from Washington, which means that we're not a sovereign country. And I know it's a cliche to say Britain's the 51st state, but it really is. We cannot go against the US. And actually, this was really exposed during Jeremy Corbyn's leadership of the Labour Party. He was elected Labour leader in 2015. He was the second non-Atlanticist Labour leader ever to be elected post the Second World War. Corbyn really showed the power that the US still has here. And actually, when I started looking into all the agencies that you mentioned, like the NED and stuff, through the whole of my career, I'd always looked at those in the global south who were operating in weak states and basically running the show. My hunch was, okay, well, this doesn't operate the same way in Britain, where we've got a longer history, we've got these strong institutions, but I realized pretty quick when I started looking into what these agencies were doing in Britain, that the same patterns were occurring, and in fact, even more resources were going in, because obviously, as an imperial centre, it's at the top priority to keep the UK pro-Atlanticist. So Jeremy Corbyn was a massive, massive nightmare for the US. And in fact, it became really explicit. Mike Pompeo, when he was Secretary of State, who was previously Director of the CIA, came to the UK in the summer of 2019. This was 6 months before the election of 2019, which Jeremy Corbyn lost to Boris Johnson. But he was recorded privately saying to a group of people, we will do our, quote, level best to stop Jeremy Corbyn becoming Prime Minister of Britain. And he said, it's too hard to do it once he's Prime Minister, so we'll do it now. And it was reported for a day in the papers, but then it just disappeared. And you're sort of thinking, this should be a huge, huge scandal. This is a senior official coming to the UK and basically saying we won't allow it. And obviously he was referring to certain programs they had. And there was no investigations of what he meant by that.
Yep. So definitely catch that full interview. That's over at chrishedges.substack.com. So go check out Chris and Matt talking about that. Not only did Kit write an article, Kit Knightley over at Off Guardian, he was a member of a Independent Media Alliance panel earlier this week. Half dozen of the members got together and talked about the Trump cabinet picks. So if you're interested in hearing their takes on that, that was a really interesting hour and a half to watch. I would definitely catch that. Speaking of Matt Kennard, our friend Golden Monarch wrote up a little article about, and he gave him kind of a golden spotlight or golden highlight award. He talked about the conversation that Matt had with Bet Beat Media, which we talked about, and also included the clip that we had about Matt a couple of weeks ago for the Indie Media Awards, which I appreciate. And thank you so much to Golden Monarch for the shout out there. Again, this is the Matt Kennard, Chris Hedges interview. Oh, and this is the video. It already was here. Okay, I got ahead of myself. All right. And then Matt was busy this week. Matt also was on Going Underground. So check this out as well with Afshin Rattansi. And he was talking about Syria and what was going to happen there. Obviously, that was before it fell this weekend. So I don't know how accurate it's going to be. That was literally recorded like yesterday on Friday, published yesterday morning. About 30 minutes long. Check that out. So, finally, Indie Media Award honoree Shanda Masta has been battling small cell lung cancer. Can you not hear me anymore, Reef?
No, I can.
Oh, okay, because I didn't hear the sound. So, Shanda,
right.
we primed that pump on her GoFundMe again this week. Looks like we got about another $500 from Giving Tuesday. Thank you to everybody. Really, thank you so much. We really appreciate everything that everybody can give, especially this time of year where we know it's so hard. Christmas gifts and everybody's strapped. It's a tough time for everyone. But I was talking to Oz about this last night. She can't work right now which means she can't earn. Bills are coming in. Rent is due. Food bills, gas to get to and from treatments, and there's no income. So she's literally relying on us to help and to get her through. And we step up to help each other. And I'd step up and I ask and hope that everyone else would mention it on their shows to try to get more people out there to try to help her and share her GoFundMe and to support her. All right. So here is the link. by the way, for the GoFundMe. Hopefully that goes through good. And all right.
It's not a tumor.
Will you
Not
stop?
a tumor
Will
at
you
all.
stop? Now, finally, we've got INN newsletter weekly, or not weekly, but we publish it daily, and we publish a weekly update. But there are also original articles from members. Mostly it's what live streams, what clips, what articles were there in the past 24 hours or so, or what can you expect tonight. You'll get a weekly update, you'll get original articles, and you'll get the daily update on what's on the network today. And then again, you can subscribe to Indie Media Today. That's my Substack. That's where you'll get all the clips from this show, as well as the original articles that I write and appearances that I have on other shows and live stream notifications at noon on Sundays if we're going to go live. So thank you to everyone really for supporting independent media. We show this link one more time, this page one more time with the links. Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal, Patreon, if you're able to. Also, INNnewsletter.com, you see there, and at the merch at indienews.shop, where you can pick up t-shirts and tank tops and beanies and all of your merch Christmassy needs. And if there's something that you want to see that I haven't made, that we haven't made merch-wise, I'm willing to do that too. Just tell me what you want to see and I can make it. So, Reef, I believe we got to put the boats link in the description or in the chat for everyone, and I will pin it once you do. And then everybody go to boats, go to Rumble because we're going to be over there. Let me pin this message here. And we're not going to be showing boats on YouTube tonight. This is a Rumble only, uncensored boats. I forgot to make a QR code stream, but I'm just going to turn off YouTube and we're going to go live everywhere else. Labels are bad. Stay independent. I stole his thing. Support independent media because we need it more than...
There you go.
What? Oh, my thing, right. Support independent media. We need it more than ever. I love you all, and I really appreciate all of you. We'll see you soon for boats, everyone.
Yeah. Mwah. Ciao, baby.
No! We just fucking lost the stream!
I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry.
My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I get to the end of a 4-minute track and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say? So I try...